Academy inspector training. Here we are in Union City, New Jersey. We're looking at a couple of fire escapes. Let's do these side by side and see what happens on fire escapes. This is an all welded fire escape, nice and painted green. We'll see what's going on with it. And here's a nice painted fire escape, painted green. Let's see what's going on with this one. So, first of all, must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. Well, this is about as green as you can get it. So let's take a look at the next thing. Structural. Structural is that, 5, 10, 15 years ago somebody wrote a scrape and paint violation on this fire escape, and they did that. They scraped it and they painted it. But now take a look at let's take a look at all the connections. If you look at the connections, see all the joints? All original hardware. Doesn't look like they have any new hardware on this fire escape. This fire escape is 50 to 75 years old. It's impossible for it not to have some changes of the bolts, minimally on the treads, because treads accumulate the most snow, rust out first, and in 50 to 75 years, that's where you would see changes. This ladder bracket here, all original hardware and blowing away, and it's all rusted. So you come down this ladder, this bracket bottom is going to pull out. Look at the supports tied into the building. You got some holes going into the building. So this is what happens when you write a scrape and paint violation. They will just scrape and paint it. But on this fire escape, I'm looking for evidence of any new hardware. There isn't one piece of new hardware bolt on this, a new hex head bolt on a corner somewhere. Everything I see here is the original 50 to 75-year-old bolt on this fire escape. So I would deem this fire escape unsafe, because guaranteed if I hammer tested some of those treads, some of them would fall. I would not load test this fire escape because all the original hardware is still here and rusting. They just painted over everything. So that's the things you got to be careful. There's no release arm on this ladder, so that when you release it, that balance should let that ladder drop 2 to 3 feet per second and hit the ground. Currently it's not. It's balanced backwards. Let's take a look at this one. All welded. Rebar for a ladder. Looks like similar construction to the one over there, the white one. The black one over there. Biggest problem you have with welded fire escapes is just that. If nobody seals those welded joints, water gets in there and rusts those out. All the treads are welded on this fire escape. If you don't seal the welds from above, it's only a matter of time before those welds on those treads pop. So a lot of times when we're inspecting these fire escapes, we won't sign off on this fire escape in the current condition, and it's painted. So somebody 5, 10, 15 years ago wrote a scrape and paint violation on that, and they gave you the scrape and paint. But let's tell you what I would recommend to this client if I was doing the inspection. All the major structural supports, I would want a bolt minimally in the welded connections, just so I can feel safe that those welds are never going to give out on me. Every one of those treads would get a backup bolt. I would seal it from above so that no more water gets into the rusted tread connection, and then I would put a bolt on the front and the nose on the entire fire escape. On the railings, I would only support the corners, and I would verify the middles. Release arm on the ladder. And again, this fire escape looks great, but if you don't know how to look for these things, welds can snap, bolts will stretch over time, but welds snap, and that's when somebody will fall down a set of treads. Support can give way, so I would not load test this fire escape, because you can see a little bit of rust tearing down the side of the building, and that's only coming from the joint. And if you look at the welded supports, these don't look like they've been professionally welded by a by a certified welder. So again, my recommendation on this fire escape would be to basically drill the joints of the supports and back those up. So all major critical supports would have to be backed up by a bolt. All treads would have to be backed up by a bolt. Major corners on the rails would have to be backed up by a bolt, and that's it. If you have any questions, give us a call here at Fire Escape Engineers, 866-649-0333, and we can answer any and all questions. Again, we're here in Union City, New Jersey, Fire Escape Academy.